On this week's Rambler Sports Locker, the women's basketball team adds another loss to their record. And men's soccer went head-to-head with Notre Dame in the second round of the NCAA tournament. RSL reporter Madeline Kenny will have the breakdown for us.
Also, RSL reporter Nick Schultz picks his top 5 new signees for the Ramblers, and Dylan Conover sits down with his Ramble analyst for this week's Ramble. Dylan, what's tonight's Ramble topic?
Hey guys, later today on the Ramble, we're going to be arguing over whether or not the Cubs should be sellers even after they won the World Series. All this and more on the Rambler Sports Locker.
Welcome back to another edition of the Rambler Sports Locker. I'm Alexis Flamburis.
And I'm Brooke Zubel. Loyola men's soccer team faced a tough defeat against Notre Dame early last week at the Alumni Stadium. For a match recap, here is RSL reporter Madeline Kenny for more.
After a hard-fought 90-minute battle between Loyola and Notre Dame, the Ramblers fell 1-0. Andrew Chekadonov was consistently challenged all night, but he let one goal slip through the crack in the 78th minute when Notre Dame John Gallagher was able to find the back of the net. Head coach Neo Jones said that this season has been a season of historic events. It's the first time the Ramblers were able to win 14 games, and it's the first time they had an NCAA tournament win. Although this loss does hurt, he says he's very proud of what his team has been able to accomplish this season.
It was a great season. Obviously this really hurts right now, and especially for the seniors. We gave everything that we had to this Notre Dame team tonight, and we just couldn't come away with a result, but so proud of this group.
The Ramblers are losing 4 senior starters due to graduation, but are bringing back a lot of young talent, including Alex Lasinski and Grant Stoneman, and Brody Crossell, who has led the team in assists all season.
3 members of the men's soccer team have been selected to the Missouri Valley Conference's Scholar Athlete team. These 3 include redshirt junior goalkeeper Andrew Chekadonov, recognized as a first-team honoree, and both redshirt Ryan Howe and senior Kirill Likovid earned honorable mention accolades. Chekadonov tied the program's single-season record for shutouts, and as you may recall, has been named Missouri Valley Conference's Goalkeeper of the Year. Howe finished the season with a goal and assist to his name while starting all 18 games he appeared in. Likovid earned second-team All-Missouri Valley Conference honors for a team individual season of his career.
The women's basketball team has had a rough start to their season, losing their last 4 games. The Ramblers took on Pittsburgh on November 17th, where they trailed the Panthers the entire game. They managed to cut the deficit to only 4 points before the half, but that was not enough for the Ramblers. The Panthers started the third quarter with a 7-0 run, and from there, the Ramblers struggled to close the gap. The Panthers won 59-35. Just 2 days later, the Ramblers returned home for a game against previous Horizon League rival Milwaukee. It was another game of catch-up for the Ramblers. Guard forwards Sitiana Nagatu and Kiana Kumber brought the Ramblers within 17 in the fourth quarter, but the Panthers broke away yet again, closing out the game 73-46. The Ramblers then traveled to Daytona Beach for the San Juan shootout, where they took on Clemson and Troy. Down by only 7 at the half against Clemson, Loyola had a fighting chance, but it still was not enough to give them the win. Clemson prevailed 61-40. The start to the Ramblers game against Troy seemed promising, as they had a 4-2 edge, but late in the first quarter, the Trojans took the lead, which they held onto, ultimately winning the game 91-67. Despite the Ramblers' losses, freshman Kiana Kumber has something to celebrate. The Missouri Valley Conference named her Newcomer of the Week. She is currently this season's top-scoring Rambler and is the second Rambler to receive the honor this season. The Ramblers were in the middle of Michigan earlier today in Mount Pleasant. The Ramblers and the Central Michigan Chippewas went head-to-head, but the Chips were too fired up with hot shooting that helped CMU take the win 95-57. The Ramblers continue play in Michigan for another road game against the Western Michigan University Broncos on December 3rd.
Men's basketball headed to the University of the Virgin Islands in St. Thomas this past week to join 7 other teams in the Paradise Jam. There, they defeated Oral Roberts and Washington State, but fell to St. Joseph's. The Ramblers then returned to the States and headed to North Carolina to face North Carolina State and just fell short of the win. Loyola headed to North Carolina for the first time since 1986 to take on the Wolfpack, who had a 4-1 record this season. The teams went head-to-head, and Loyola fell a little short in the outcome with a final score of 79-77. Andre Jackson scored a team-high 20 points, while Ben Richardson and Milton Doyle both added 14 points to the score. Coming off the heartbreaker in North Carolina, the Ramblers returned home for the first time in 2 weeks. Guard Clayton Custer was hot all night, starting with this three to kick off the game for the Ramblers. Forward Andre Jackson followed in Custer's footsteps with this reverse layup from Dante Ingram. Custer didn't just score, here he feeds Milton Doyle for the alley-oop. Custer and Jackson ran the floor all night for Loyola. Custer led with a game-high 20 points and Jackson with 19. Loyola shot 46% from the field, which was a bit below the team's season average. The Ramblers remain undefeated at home, outlasting the Spartans 75-62. Loyola is now 6-2 on the season and will host San Diego State on Saturday. Andre Jackson has been named Missouri Valley Conference Men's Newcomer of the Week. Jackson scored double figures in each of Loyola's first 5 games, which hasn't happened since 2002 by Paul McMillan. Jackson averages 14.6 points per game and draining field goals at 79.5%. He was also announced as Co-Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Week for these same accomplishments. The honors keep coming in. Clayton Custer was named Missouri Valley Conference Scholar Athlete of the Week as a redshirt sophomore. This is his first season of eligibility after transferring from Iowa State University, and he is truly making a name for himself, contributing 12.7 points per game while shooting 44.4% from the three-point range. This week on our Top 5, Nick will be telling us which future student athletes will be new to our athletic teams.
Over to RSL reporter Nick Schultz, who has his top 5 new signees to Loyola Rambler Athletics.
Alexis and Brooke, the early signing period just passed for student athletes to sign letters of intent to play at the collegiate level, so I decided to look at the top 5 signees for next season. Starting us off at number 5 is Sabrina Hoskins. Hoskins will join the women's golf team next year and comes to Loyola from Orlando, Florida. She qualified for the state meet throughout all 4 years of high school and posted a 75 stroke average during her senior season. Her brother Zach is currently a sophomore on the men's golf team. I had the chance to talk to Loyola Director of Golf Eric Hoops about what Hoskins brings to the program, and he said he's excited to see how much of an impact she'll have on the course.
She's going to bring a really, really high-level game to us. She's going to step in and play, I would believe, right away, and be a really, really key factor to us winning a Missouri Valley championship.
Next at number 4 is Molly Riegard. Riegard is a track standout from Waconia, Minnesota. During her time at Waconia High, she was a runner-up in the 200-meter dash and 2-time state champion as a part of the 4x200-meter relay. In a press release on Loyola's athletics website, head track coach Bob Thurnhofer said Riegard is, quote, a gifted student, team-motivated individual, and a fierce competitor with elite talent. At number 3, we have women's softball recruit Allison Ivy. Coming from Ross High School in Hamilton, Ohio, the catcher and first baseman holds the school record for batting average, home runs, and total bases, achieving all before beginning her senior season. She's a 2-time All-Conference and All-State honoree, and in a press conference on LoyolaRamblers.com, softball coach Jeff Tilka said Ivy can make an impact in the lineup, as she can hit the ball to many parts of the diamond and makes the pitcher work to get her out. At number 2 is men's volleyball signee Devin Jocelyn. Jocelyn comes from Canisius, New York, where he was a 2-time All-Catholic League selection and named one of Volleyball Magazine's top 25 underclassmen to watch. He was also selected to the U19 U.S. national team, where he helped them get the silver medal at the NORCECA Regional Championships in Havana, Cuba. Loyola head coach Mark Hulse said in a press release on Loyola's athletics website that Jocelyn is a talented player who can make an impact on the court in many different ways. Finally, at number 1 is Christian Negron, a men's basketball recruit out of Elgin, Illinois. In his junior season at Elgin Larkin High School, Negron averaged 16.8 points and 11.8 rebounds per game. He also played for the Puerto Rican national team in the U18 FIBA Americas, where he led the team in points per game and rebounding. When asked about what Negron brings to the team, Loyola head coach Porter Moser told me he can both score and play defense very well.
I just think he's so versatile. We can do so many things with him, trapping the post, switching on the perimeter. So defensively, I'm excited. Offensively, I think the same thing. I think he can be a mismatch guy.
The Ramblers certainly have a lot to look forward to next season, and more recruits will be on the way once the regular signing period begins in April. For the Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Nick Schultz. Back to you at the desk.
The women's volleyball season came to an end last week at the MVC Volleyball Championship. The Ramblers earned a spot in the MVC Volleyball Championship when they won all 3 sets against Bradley on November 19th. Loyola's offense was playing without its primary setters, who were sidelined due to injury, but that did not stop the Ramblers. Maddie Moser filled in as a setter and finished with 19 assists and 9 digs. Amanda Cushion posted a season-high 15 digs, while Morgan Reardon and Sammy Hansen finished the night with 7 kills each. Moving to the MVC Volleyball Championship, Loyola lost to Northern Iowa, marking their first and final round in the MVC Volleyball Championship. Northern Iowa claimed victorious in all 3 sets. The Ramblers found themselves down by only 1 during the second and third sets, but UNI pulled away in both and the Ramblers could not answer. Loyola finished their season with a 14-18 overall record. Senior Morgan Reardon and sophomore Maddie Moser were named to the Missouri Valley Conference Volleyball Scholar Athlete First Team. Students must maintain at least a 3.2 GPA and participate in at least 75% of the regular season matches to qualify for this honor. Reardon, an outside hitter, is a marketing major and holds a GPA of 3.6. Moser is a defensive specialist and libero who boasts a 4.0 GPA as a nursing major. The honors keep coming for the women's volleyball team. Sammy Hansen has been named to the 2016 MVC All-Tournament team. This is her second honor, having been named to the All-Tournament team in 2015. Senior Morgan Reardon was named to the first team All-MVC, becoming the first Rambler to do so. Gabby Majikowski was named the second team All-MVC, as Quinn Speaker and Delilah Wolf have been honored to the MVC All-Freshman team.
The women's softball team released their schedule for the 2017 season. The Ramblers will play 3 in-season tournaments. They open their season in February when they co-host the Total Control Invitational, playing in the total of 5 games. Starting with IUPUI, the Ramblers will open MVC play against Evansville. They have a home opener against Valparaiso and have road games against Missouri State and Northern Illinois.
One thing you need at every basketball game to cheer on the home team is spirit.
RSL reporter Haley Spittler spent time with Loyola Spirit teams and got a closer look at what it's like to cheer on our Ramblers.
Give me an S, give me a P. I'm trying to spell spirit, but the Spirit team can do that for me. The Spirit team at Loyola consists of both the dance team and the cheer team. On the cheer side, they're looking at a completely fresh start. With a new coach and a new group of cheerleaders, everyone is looking forward to what these girls have to offer.
I would say just as a program and in general, since they are so new, I want them to enjoy it. Eventually, we want to build a program that's going to compete. And so that's something that we're looking forward to. You know, our dance team has kind of led the way with that, and so we want to join them.
Meanwhile, the dance team has a strong combination of new faces and experienced dancers. Leadership on the team can be found in the returning members and their new head coach.
I really want to focus on the girls all having fun and having just being able to encourage themselves and grow as a team throughout the season.
The dance team not only focuses on entertaining at the basketball games, but also competing on stage at nationals.
Our goal we have as a team is to make it to finals at nationals. So the dance team actually competes at NDA finals in April. So one of our big goals is to make it to finals and just to have a performance that's really consistent.
Both teams successfully balance their academics with their rigorous training schedule and game appearances. A win or a loss, the players and fans can always count on the Loyola Spirit team to keep the energy alive. The Spirit Squad is looking forward to an exciting basketball season, and we are looking forward to seeing both the cheer team's new stunts as well as the dance team's journey to nationals. For the Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Haley Spittler. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Haley. Now for today's Ramble. Should the Cubs trade Jake Arrieta?
Over to Dylan Conover and his Rambler analyst to discuss this trade.
Welcome back to the Ramble. I'm Dylan Conover, and I'm joined this week with Haley Spittler and Nader Issa. And guys, today we're talking about the Cubs. They won the World Series, but should they trade arguably one of their best pitchers, if not their best pitcher, Jake Arrieta? Nader, I'll start with you.
Well, Dylan, you said one of their best pitchers. He's their third best pitcher right now. He was this season when they won the World Series. they had two more experienced and better pitchers. Of course, John Lackey and John Lester are both going to retire soon. You can't keep them forever. But they need to trade Jake Arrieta for young pitching and young hitting.
Should they do it this offseason?
They shouldn't do it this offseason. They should do it by next trade deadline.
Okay, then, Haley, do you think that the Cubs should allow Jake Arrieta to become a free agent at the end of this year in a Cubs uniform?
I think that we absolutely need Jake Arrieta for the entire 2017 season for two reasons. One, he's not an okay pitcher, he's an amazing pitcher, and I'm going to fight that he's the third best because he threw the only no-hitter in both 2015 and 2016. He's the only current pitcher to have won a Cy Young. He's a pitcher who can rake. I mean, even in the postseason, he was hitting 3-run homers.
Now, Haley, the problem here is like when the Cubs, when he reaches free agency after this season, he's going to be demanding like $30+ million a year.
As he should.
But do you think that the Cubs would pay that?
I think we can, and I think what we're also forgetting is we don't have the only trade option in pitching. I think right now we can sell out in the outfield. We have so many like good, talented players there. We are going to have Jay next season. We have Schwarber. We have Zobrist. We have Hayward. We don't need both Soler.
Nader, you want the Cubs to trade, while their stock is high, halfway through the season to get assets, players, whatever. But what happens if Jake Arrieta is pitching terribly next season and now his stock is plummeted and you can't get anything for him?
Well, just like any situation, you have to take it as it comes. You have to evaluate the situation. You have to know when to trade Jake Arrieta.
So why wouldn't you trade him now?
Because
if you want to trade him again anyway.
Because right now the Cubs don't have the right pitching to start next season. Or if they lose Jake Arrieta, they won't have the right pitching to start next season successfully. They need to trade Jake Arrieta at the trade deadline. Because if it goes to next offseason and the Cubs have to pay Jake Arrieta, he's only making $10 million this year. If he wants $20 million more next offseason, they're not going to be able to keep the young bats that got them to where they are. Like
now,
Kyle
Haley, the question can be flipped again on you. You want Jake Arrieta to stay the whole way because you think he's so good. But right now his stock is so high, teams would trade for him and they want him. What happens if he plummets and you get nothing for him and now you just have this bad pitcher on your team?
I mean, I just don't see that happening. I don't see him becoming a bad pitcher, so I think that question's irrelevant. I think that when your team is as good as we are, we won a World Series. So why are we even thinking about trading him next season? We're not in a bad position. We don't need to trade him.
Because the Cubs got here by developing young players. Jake Arrieta is 30 years old. He's not a young pitcher anymore. They have Kyle Hendricks, who's 26 years old. Carl Edwards Jr. is in the bullpen this year. He's developing. He's very young. He looks like he's someone who could be in a rotation eventually. The Cubs need to keep developing young players and keep doing what.
But we can also do that with our fifth starter. That spot's gone. We got rid of Jason Hamill, so we already have room to do that this season.
Who would be that pitcher?
I think we can make Montgomery an everyday starter, or I think we can look elsewhere.
All right. Well, unfortunately, I think that the Cubs, because there are a lot of aging pitchers on their team, they're probably going to want to hold on to what they have, at least for now. Especially because, as the season develops, other new pitchers will become available. So I'm going to have to go with Nader for this week's win. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Dylan. And maybe if they do trade Arrieta next year, the Indians will win the World Series.
We'll have to see about that. For our full episodes and the chance to get in on the conversation, follow and like our social media handles for an up-to-date look at all things Rambler Sports.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Brooke Zubel.
And I'm Alexis Flamberis. Check back next week for our final episode of Rambler Sports Locker of the season.
And as always, don't forget to turn out the lights.